The Traveller's League Book 1 The Timepiece, written by Nick Goss. Torpil. Hoops didn't care that he had travelled to a new world. He didn't open his eyes right away. He was crying. It hurt him deeply to watch his friend Green Dewin die, and poor Wally Tom. His whole village had been destroyed. "It was all my fault. I should have left sooner. I spent too much time bragging about my adventures to the old wizard." The tears kept coming. He cried until his eyes were red and dry and his nose was snotty. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, getting up on his hands and knees. As his senses came back to him, he felt chilly and grabbed a bundle of clothes. Slipping on an animal skin tunic and pants, the warmth reminded him of Wally Tom's kindness, and he cried a little more. He strapped on a broad leather belt and noticed on the right side hung a beautiful dagger made of bluish steel with a white bone handle. On the left side of the belt was a pouch, perfectly sized to hold the pocket watch. He also had a pair of snug little leather boots and a fern green hooded cape with bits of grass and moss all over. Looking around, he took in the beauty of Torpil. This was the first time he knew where he was and why he was there. The thought of returning home to the 6:30 made him feel like a quitter. He had to do something to help his new friends, and going home just because he was afraid would mean defeat. So, he set out to explore this new world and find this oracle. He didn't have to walk very far to discover that he stood at the edge of a gorgeous canyon. All around him were thick, glossy flowers of deep blues, purples and pinks. The luminous petals sparkled, glowing in the darkness. It was night here, but the entire world was lit by a brilliant white full moon. Stars filled the sky with the most dazzling array of colour. A sheet of blue light waved across a portion of the sky, making strange shapes. It reminded Hoops of the aurora borealis he'd seen in his geography books. With every wave of the blue light, the flowers and ground would sparkle and twinkle. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a shimmer coming from a nearby tree, one of many in a lush grove of beautiful trees that ran all along the canyon edge in each direction. They were like maple trees, with pointed leaves, but they grew the strangest fruits he'd ever seen. Hoop shuffled over to the tree and grabbed a glassy globe-shaped fruit. It was made of crystal, and so heavy he almost dropped it. A tiny light danced inside of the crystal fruit, and as Hoops placed both hands on it, the light within produced an image. He saw himself in the mirror world. He saw the burglars and the gun. He watched himself grab the burglar's reflection by the wrist and save Miss Grankle. Then the crystal went dark. Dropping it to the ground, he grabbed another fruit off the tree and saw Smitty giving him the timepiece and the traveller's code. Each crystal had a memory of kindness or bravery. Someone had been watching his adventures and documenting the good things he had done or experienced. Many other crystals showed images of other boys who had saved friends, shown kindness to animals, or defeated villains. Hoops was filled with hope. He knew there were powerful forces watching his good deeds and thought perhaps they could help him save his friends. He walked to the edge of the canyon and shouted, "Hello! Anyone there?" A response echoed, "We're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here." He shouted again, "I'm Worthington." The echo replied, "Hooper, Hooper, 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 Hooper." He laughed aloud, "Ha ha! What's so funny? What's so funny? What's so funny? What's so funny?" The echo called back. This was the most fun he'd had in a long time. Too bad his school buddies weren't there. They would love this. Then he thought about his new friends in Silibad and remembered he was on a mission. How do I save my friends? He shouted as loud as he could. After several seconds of silence, the echo replied, The Oracle knows. The Oracle knows. The Oracle knows. The Oracle knows. Where is the Oracle? He yelled back. The canyon echoed, Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Behind you. Hoop spun around but saw no one. No people or creatures beyond the trees and flowers, but in the distance rose a conspicuous mountain. It was shaped like a tall and narrow cone, almost like a skinny volcano that shot up out of the ground and forgot to fatten. It was more of a rock tower that was broader at its base. Across the face of the mountain zigzagged a stone path carved into thousands of steps, and whatever was at the top of those steps couldn't be seen from the bottom. He set off for the path and soon made it to the bottom of the mountain. Taking the first few steps, Hoop felt the ground beneath him tremble. It was faint, but he certainly didn't imagine it. It only lasted for about 3 seconds. He continued, and about halfway up the mountain it happened again. The ground shook, and it was certainly more noticeable and lasted for about 6 seconds. Higher and higher he climbed. The zigzagging of the path became more frequent as the mountain became narrower. Almost to the top, the path stopped halfway across the narrow face of what was now a cliff. The stony path turned right and went straight through the rock and into a tiny cavern. The path continued off to the left, through an opening at the other end of the cavern. Stalactites grew on the cavern ceiling, sparkling with purple gems reflecting the starlight coming from the opening at the other end. As Hoop stopped to take in this little cave's beauty, the ground shook. It was rough this time and lasted for about 10 seconds. The rumblings grew worse, so he made the decision to climb to the top quickly. Following the path on the other end took him on a very narrow walkway that wound itself around the tip-top of the mountain. The top of the mountain was crater-like, about 100 feet across and only 6 feet deep. The floor of the crater was bare as a desert except for the wishing well at the very centre. Hoops knew this must be where he'd find the Oracle, so he ran to the well and yelled into it, "Hello!" His voice sounded cold and hollow as it echoed down the well, but the voice that came back was warm, calm and welcoming. "Hello, traveller. Are you the Oracle?" Hoops knew it was a dumb question as soon as it came out of his mouth. "Yes, of course. Are you Worthington?" replied the well. "Yeah," Hoops thought about what to ask. "I've come to find out how to save my friends." "Your friends will be saved," the Oracle reassured him. "But you must finish your travels first." "Finish my travels? But I need to go back and save my friends first. What do I need to do to defeat Braxo?" "You will not defeat Braxo. If you go back to Ciribaz, you will be destroyed and the timepiece will belong to the evil wizard. He will then use it to escape Ciribaz and bring darkness to the other worlds. Only she can stop him." "She?" Hoops was confused. "You mean a girl? What girl? I don't see a girl in Ciribaz." "She is not in Ciribaz. She is not yet a traveller, but she has been chosen to travel and will defeat Braxo." "But I want to defeat him." Hoops grew angry. These weren't the answers he had come for. "I want to kill him for what he did to my friends." Hoops pulled out his dagger and swung it back and forth through the air, stabbing an imaginary Braxo as he talked to the wishing wells. "You must finish your travels. Only then can the girl be found. Only then can your friends be saved." The Oracle wasn't changing its mind. "But Duin was killed right in front of me," Hoops screamed at the Oracle. "He was my friend, he gave me answers." He kicked at the well when he screamed the word answers. Tears welled in his eyes. "Ouch," the Oracle said calmly. "No need for that. I'm only telling you the truth as I have foreseen it. Your friend Greenduin can be brought back, but only if you continue your travels.
You mean Duin will come back?
You must go to Animas, find a phoenix feather and bring it back to me. Then you must complete your travels. That is the only way you can help your friends and revive Duin. That is the only way the girl can be found. The oracle grew impatient.
Animas, is that the 8 o'clock world?
Hoops asked as he pulled out his pocket watch and set it for 8 o'clock. Yes, the oracle whispered.
How will I find the phoenix feather?
Hoops asked. You asked the wrong questions, boy. The oracle was getting angry. The ground shook so hard the rocks on the ground jingled. Use the tools your friends have given you. The cloak, the knife, the watch. The ground cracked. Finding the feather is easy. Getting the feather and returning here is your mission. The quaking worsened by the second. The entire world bounced in Hoop's eyes as it trembled and shook. Now go! Screamed the angry oracle as Hoops rubbed the timepiece.